Did you ever mood board when you were a kid?
I did, but it was primarily sports, right? Like it was purely MJ, Wade, um, clothing and like rap albums
Yeah.
and houses. Like
I
that
I
was it.
experimented with Pinterest back in the day, but I'm ashamed to admit something.
What is it?
I feel like I was on there to look for gifts for my high school girlfriend.
On Pinterest.
Yeah, that's where I was first exposed to Pinterest as a mood board was some
Interesting.
simp behavior.
Like
Yeah.
Pinterest, Etsy type vibes.
Yeah. Like the direct link to Etsy for like a little trinket.
That's interesting.
Yeah, not
That's
good.
not what I was expecting.
Just look, we bring transparency to
That is
this
hilarious.
industry. Someone's got to do it.
But the reason you even bring that up is we were texting about this idea that your brand is a mood board. Before I kick it off, I'd want you to, if you want to cover the brand that you were going to talk about, and then I'll go into then how you could look at a brand like that and develop your mood board on kind of the back end of the inspiration of that brand.
Yeah, totally. So this brand is called O3 Space, and they are basically the cafe co-working space that we all want. So there's this big concept of third spaces. You have where you work, or you have where, you go to school. I'm sorry, not go to school, but like where you live, right? And then the gym could be a third space. Like there was this concept that it used to be churches, it used to be community centers, and then now that's kind of gone away. And so this is really hot with Gen Z, is they all want third spaces to go congregate. And what they're actually really craving is community through like-minded interests, which could include grinding, coding, whatever it is. So that's kind of what these guys developed, is like a 24/7 co-working space cafe. And
You didn't give the name of the brand.
Huh?
You didn't give the name of the brand.
O3 Space.
Okay.
It's literally called O3 Space.
Okay.
And so how they've been able to get all of their members is through what you're talking about. The brand is a mood board and also enemy marketing. So they immediately said, we're a bunch of ex-English tutors that hated Starbucks. So Starbucks was the clear enemy. Why? Felt corporate, stale, like wasn't very, welcoming. And then a big part of that was the aesthetic of Starbucks. They felt like didn't lend to creative ideas or being productive. So they developed their own. It's in Melbourne, Australia. And to give you an idea of like their niche, is one of their most viral videos is who needs Hogwarts when you have this? So, pretty sweet, right? Calling out Harry Potter fans, like the aesthetics seems to mimic something that was this desire that people had. I want to go be in Hogwarts. Like Hogwarts was probably on a lot of people's mood boards when they were thinking about how to build out maybe their home office, or when they were thinking about anything interior design wise. Like that was probably an inspiration for a lot of them. What they've done with their brand marketing is created that mood board for their desired customer. So by simply adding this title, because again, we talk a lot about how visual hooks are powerful and how components of visual hooks is text, right? This video would not give Hogwarts vibes unless they directed it that way with the text. But because they put it there, 11,000 likes later, who knows what that does to the wait list to come join this space. So really cool understanding of a couple of things. Like, what is our target audience? It's young professionals looking to have a third space that are fed up with Starbucks, might have had interest in Harry Potter back in the day. And their original founding story is really cool too, because the guy says, I was a Harvard grad, fast-tracked on the investment banking route. He explicitly says, I don't like doing, hard drugs in the video. And he uses the word. I won't use it just in case YouTube censors it. But he says that. And immediately, this is an approachable place. This is not going to be a stuffy environment if the founder is using that as his story. And so they set that tone there as well, that this is casual, but, still serious. They emphasize aesthetics. And then the rest of it is just kind of pitching this dream destination for their people. You can choose your lunch. The food looks good. You can have strawberry matcha, all these different things. So they've done a really good job of, mood boarding workplace culture, where, one aspect of workplace culture would be obviously lunch. That's a huge component of it. So they're going to show lunch on their feed. They're also going to show strawberry matcha on their feed, like all this different stuff. Why libraries suck is one of their pieces of content. All of it creates this little universe, and just an amazing job, and such an example of, if you take a content first approach, the sky's the limit, And the coolest thing that they did, in my opinion, as well, is by leading with aesthetics, they make the storytelling part a lot easier. It's really easy to tell a story when you have a dream and it already it's like the mood board sold itself. So
the cool part about this and like the content format that they're using that we talk about in Cut 30 is this idea of 5 shots and 10 shots, right? Which is, it's very simple. It's kind of 5 consecutive shots, 10 consecutive shots. Typically, they all last either half a second or 1 second. And in this piece of content that you're talking about, right, that has 11,000 likes, if I had to guess, a few 100,000 views. I'm actually kind of curious.
The Hogwarts thing?
It's got 500,000.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a 5-shot video. And so in this case, it's like you're saying, it has that text on top. Who needs Hogwarts when Melbourne has this? And then it's pure vibe curation. It's not showing like these close macro shots of somebody's working or of the details. It is solely focused on the vibe of the entire place, which goes back to kind of what you and I were talking about of like your brand needs to be a mood board, and like you have to understand how to create a mood board and then have to figure out how you can integrate your customers' ideal, either A, lifestyle, or B, like what they want to get out of a specific product or service or, something like this, and then integrate that into that mood board. And so on my end, when I think about mood boards, there's 5 elements of a good mood board. So there's 1, the creative concept. And this has to go past just aesthetics, right? This has to go towards the overarching story that you're trying to tell. The second then is the color palette. So this sets the tone and assigns like the specific vibe, right, to that mood board. And those colors are really going to guide when we talk about later on, like telling a visual story. Those colors are really going to guide that inspirational imagery. The third then is the typography, right? So that is going to communicate a tone. That typography is going to be essential for anything that it has written text on it that you're doing. The fourth is texture and prints. Then the fifth and final one is then telling that visual story with your inspirational imagery, right? Being able to pull references and resources and looks from all sorts of things and put it together to then put together that entire mood board. So again, creative concept, color palette, typography, texture and prints, and then your inspirational imagery. Then a bonus section that I like to think about is 4 questions. 1, what does your mood board, or like, what does it taste like? If you had to take your mood board and put it together in like some kind of taste and talking about all the different senses, what does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it listen to? And then even how does it dress, right? This is going to help you really be able to paint that picture. And so the whole goal then is your brand's mood board is how you communicate to your ideal customer. And the way I like to think about it then is it's this magnet signaling to a specific person saying, hey, that life that you want, it exists over here, right? That's what we're trying to communicate to a specific person, right? When we see an ALD video and it's like for a launch of a collection and it's a guy just driving through the hills in a Porsche 911, shooting hoops, listening to music, just purely vibing.
Yeah.
It's like telling us like, damn, that life that you guys want, it's over here. And the way you get there is this close, right? And so I actually have an exercise that I like to do. It's more so something I've been doing more and more with brands, but you take that mood board, right, that you create, and you segment it into your ideal customer's day. So you look at it from, okay, morning time, breakfast, they get up. What does that look like? Are they going to a coffee shop? Are they doing it at home? What are they making? What are they eating? Is it an energy drink or is it an espresso, right? How are they dressed? And taking all those different elements and then kind of looking at work. Okay, they're going to be working from this time to this time. Mm-hmm. Where are they working? How are they working? Are they in bed working, or are they like at their home office that looks a specific way, or are they going to a coffee shop? Like, break it down piece by piece by piece from morning till nighttime, because then what you want to see is then you want to see how your product weaves into that, right? Or even how your service weaves into that, and how you can make it as seamless as possible so that their day feels incomplete without you, okay? And so when you think about this and you take all of this, you really just understand that the way then you communicate this to as many people as possible is through your content, right? Totally. By making a video that's like the one that you just showed.
You know who's actually also really ridiculously good at this? Who? Is I did a video on them. They're Pink's window cleaners. Yeah. They have done such because I can immediately hear a lot of our listeners who may think mood board doesn't apply to my business, because we have a lot of, how would I do this if I was an HVAC company, or how would I do this if I was I was talking to Joaquin. He's like, how do I do this if I'm a mobile detailing company? And, what Pinks did that is just truly amazing is their mood boarding was exactly what you just described. It was, how are we going to integrate into that singular interaction we have with a customer? And it's all surprise and delight, but it's really delight. When you work with a contractor, a lot of the times you're kind of expecting a guy rough around the edges, poor with communication, shows up late, does an okay job. There's a bad expectation, a bad taste in a lot. Maybe he smells bad, to your point about like, what do they smell like? What do they, not what they taste like. You know what I'm saying? But, so like, especially with Pinks, I think you have an expectation, like these are not going to be grimy dudes coming in. Like they're going to come in on time, do a good job, because they've done a really good job setting that expectation with their brand aesthetic, with their content mood board. And so there's someone to look into for that as well, because it's not necessarily like ALD, for example, is selling a lifestyle. All these brands we talk about all the time selling a lifestyle, but Pinks is selling a singular moment, singular interaction. And it's what point in the day is that? A lot of different points in the day. And that's actually different content opportunities for them, where it's like, if you're getting it done in the morning, you just had your morning coffee, whatever. Or if it's in the afternoon, those are different content types to make people feel different emotions and expectations. But it's a great example of how to communicate how you're going to present yourself through a mood board.
Couldn't agree more. Pinks is one of the brands that I was putting down as an example when I did this.
Yeah.
Because because I didn't want to just use, because the first example I have is a clothing brand, but it's one of the easier, brands to use when we're talking about mood board, right? And I'm still going to use it because I do think this brand is one of the best. From the moment you walk into their store to how they curate and what they curate in their store, and you'll agree once I say the name, to what they curate in the store, to the furniture, to like the books, everything, to then their content. So that company is Buck Mason, right? And so when I was thinking about Buck Mason and I'm thinking about, right, quote unquote mood board, I'm thinking about, okay, what does that guy look like? What do they do? And I just started putting down lines, right? It's a classic man who sips on bourbon at night and drives a classic Porsche. It's the guy who doesn't rush through life and like lights a candle just cause. The guy who's home all day but is, I don't want to say dripped out, but like looks very nice from head to toe. Like he's got an event later, but he's just going to be home all day, right? That is like the person that Buck Mason is creating content for, they're curating for. If you look at their content on their feed, all of it is speaking to that individual, right? And when they're creating that content, they're communicating to those three people specifically, in my opinion. The person who aspires to have that lifestyle, the person who has the lifestyle, and then the person who's trying to adopt that lifestyle, right? And they do that all through their content. I don't know if you've ever actually been on their IG page.
Yeah.
But it legitimately looks like a mood board. From the reels to the photography to product photography, it is all like the classic man. That is what they're communicating.
It's like the 2010s, like loves like Breaking Bad and Mad Men.
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
He cared about the Emmys every year.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I mean Buck Mason is great. I actually have like a crusade against Buck Mason.
Why?
Because they don't make clothes for tall people at all. So I feel very marginalized. Like none of their shirts
fit you.
They're not even crop. It's coming up on.
They're like legit crop.
Yeah.
Like a legit crop top.
Yeah. And it's tough. So I really wanted to be a huge Buck Mason guy, and like it kind of just cut me from their community. And that's cool because that's the message they're sending.
Yeah. That's fair.
You know, like we don't want lanky dudes around here, which is, I think more people should adopt that mentality, you know? But overall, like obviously 10 out of 10 brand.
They're crushing it. And I'm guessing you've been to their store on Congress.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's
I go in there and flirt all the time and I never pull trig because I'm so scarred from my experience. Like I got wrecked. Like I'm talking like the biggest return I've ever had to do. Multiple pieces.
Damn.
Embarrassing too. Imagine taking that. What's the box for, bro? It's like six shirts, man.
Dude, I gotta tell you. So this is just a frustrating return situation. Kith did a drop where it was like new athletic wear because they haven't really done
Yeah,
athletic wear
yeah,
in the
I saw it.
past. Right? I think it was like with On or On collab. I don't know if it was just the shoes. Anyways, the first day I wore the pants, they ripped. And I'm not talking about like, yes, they ripped down in the middle, but they also ripped on the pockets, on the sides. Like they weren't tight when I was wearing them. Shorts, same situation. Bro, I write customer service, and this is more so like a talk about retention. I write customer service like, yo, this is $500 worth of clothes right here that ripped the first time I wore it. And they just go, unfortunately, it's been 30 days. Like, we can't do anything. I'm like, this is you losing somebody forever for good versus just replacing my clothes.
I hate to break it to you. Some people don't.
They don't give a shit.
They just don't care. I've been getting wrecked recently. Like anytime I try and like power trip on somebody, I feel like I'm just getting bodied. You know,
It's
like
just crazy to me.
Why did Kith doesn't go? You know?
I know, but still, like if you just look at what they have, like prestiges, right?
For sure.
Just look at mine.
Yeah,
I'm up there.
But they don't. But that's
like I'm
the thing.
spending a lot of money at the store,
and at some point, whoever invested in them, whatever VC PE firm made Ronnie rich, is saying, as a company, we're gonna have this return policy, and if you deviate from it, like you're fired. And
it's just crazy to me.
It's crazy when they run the numbers like that too. I feel like they have to be evaluating those situations at a really high level, and they say, we're not gonna, we're just not gonna tolerate this like for any customer.
Post 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, look, it happens. I think customer service definitely changes everyone's perception of a brand too.
100%.
Not to state the obvious, but like there's brands that are sworn enemies. Buck Mason handled that great.
Yeah.
It's a brand that was did a really good job. Bode. Have you ever heard of Bode?
No.
They're in LA. You'd actually think they're really cool. But they did an amazing job. And I bought a jacket. The jacket was very pricey, and it's like $1,400 jacket. I was like really stoked about it. Ends up like the sleeves are just comically short, to the point where like I was like, I got to give this away or I got to return it. But I was outside that return window you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they just hit me back immediately. And they're like, we're good.
Yeah.
You can just return it. So now I'm kind of a fan of them, give them some love. But yeah,
because that's how you should do it.
I don't know, dude. But Kith is different because Kith is
like those pants cost $20 to make.
Huh?
Those pants cost $20 to make.
Yeah.
They were like the nylon kind of tracksuit kind of pants,
Yeah, totally. I mean, lost in all the tariff conversation.
Yeah.
We just need a little more transparency about the cost of manufacturing out here.
So the other brand that I think does a phenomenal job with this is Vacation Inc. So the sunscreen brand.
Yeah, they do a great job.
They do a great job of this. It's simply sunscreen. Like it's a commodity. It's not, when we think about like mood boarding and creating, you wouldn't think about it for a sunscreen brand. And the fact that they are thinking about creating that ideal mood board for their customer is the reason why they're even in this conversation and why they're even in marketing conversations, is because they're doing this. You look at their content and everything is playing into this retro, nostalgic, kind of like summer in the 80s, summer in the 90s vibes. And it's almost like you cut out pictures from a magazine from the 80s.
Yeah.
And you put them on their feed, and then they just remake those images with product, right? You wouldn't see somebody for example, and this is where association comes into play with mood boarding. In their like product photography or their photography in general, if you saw somebody on the beach, you wouldn't see them holding a cell phone. They'd be holding like a CD player.
Yeah, or like one of them big ass cell phones.
Yeah, like exactly, like a retro old cell phone. If it was a home phone, it'd be like one of the ones that you spin, right? And that is how important association comes into it, because association also creates that specific perception in somebody's head. The other brand that does a phenomenal job at this is the Ritz Paris. Have you ever seen their Instagram?
No.
All right, I'm gonna drop this to you. Check them out. They actually make amazing content. They have different series that they're creating. They have the Behind the Ritz series that they're consistently creating. They have all sorts of different content types and content pillars that they're doing. POV of like a bell. What is it? Bellhop. Bellhop, like taking you food to your door, taking you, what is it when you call that shit in?
Room service?
Yeah, room service.
You're about to be getting some room service this weekend.
Potentially.
Room service is sick.
Room service is sick.
Yeah. I'd kind of been an anti-room service guy. I was like trying to get out and about recently on trips. And then I came back from an event and I room serviced a cookie to the room. And you know, that shit hit.
It shit hit. This was at Coachella.
Just like the concept of not having to go through, like walk up to somebody and be like, yo, let me get a cookie. And then they brought
They
the
just
cookie
bring
up.
you a cookie at your hotel
No, it's
room.
real though, you know?
But check their content out. They do a phenomenal job of, in my opinion, they do a few things, right? They have Behind the Ritz, which is more on the educational side. Then they do a lot of carousels. All the carousels focus on the macro details of the experience. So this could be for example, the staircase and the lighting fixtures. It could also then be the actual drinks or the room and what it looks like after it's been cleaned, right? They do product carousels on that, and then they also do it on different little experiences within the Ritz that are almost like 1 to 2 shot videos, right? Somebody coming in with a bunch of flowers, somebody walking in with balloons, somebody coming in to give you a drink or brunch or whatever the case may be. And they do a phenomenal job doing this, but if you break it down to its core, I could just screenshot the first 9 images, and the first 9 images look like my dream place to stay when I visit Paris, right? Like
definitely.
after Vanessa and I get married, we are going to go to Paris for 3 days. I look at this and I say, damn, like this is exactly how I'd want to live for those 3 days.
Are you hitting it or no?
No, dude. It's like,
It's
again, like we were just
1,500 a
talking.
night?
Yeah. Again, like if based on the conversation we were having before this on how much I'm spending on the wedding,
Yeah.
I do not want to. I want to, and I don't want to.
I've
do
actually
this.
walked by this place in Paris. It's by like, it's in this,
I know exactly what,
by all like the Van Cleef
Yes.
store and everything like that.
Off-White's
Bro,
over there.
I mean, that's when you feel broke.
Yes.
You're like, dude, don't do this to me.
So I don't know if I've told you this. When Vanessa and I got engaged, we didn't know, and we were in Paris during Paris Fashion Week.
Mm-hmm.
So we walked by the Ritz Paris, and we're walking by, and there's paparazzi everywhere. And we're like, what's going on? And they're like, Kim K's there. Like all these people, famous people were staying there. So one, that was cool. And two, similar to what you said, I went to the Off-White store.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, okay, I got to get something. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to get something from here.
Yeah.
And when you're kind of shopping in Paris too, and you go to a store like that, everything's over the top extra. And I don't mean money wise, I mean like look wise. And so I'm like, oh, like this is honestly not things I'd actually wear. Like it's Paris Fashion Week, so it was stepped up.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to force
10.
it.
Yeah. But then there was one jacket that I was like, okay, I could get this. Like this goes hard. And then when he like brought, there was no pricing, so I had no idea how much it was. Bro, he told me 26 racks for a jacket. Vanessa,
I would have thrown up.
I was like, we're good. Like
spot.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
For a jacket. Ritz Paris is a good one. And then the last one I'll say, and I think I talked about them a while ago, is On Airlines. Have you ever seen them?
Yeah, you brought them up a while ago.
Yeah. Carry On, they do a phenomenal job of bringing the same experience that you're going to experience in person to life. And so for anybody that doesn't know, Carry On is a 90-minute cocktails experience set inside a 1970s inspired first-class jumbo jet. And so jumbo jet lounge. And so if you look at their social is purely like 1970s ads. Mm-hmm. Their videos take that same kind of, I don't want to call it a filter, but that same color grading, those same like kind of gradients and fades on it, and they put it on top of everything. The skits that they create are all recreated as if they were made in the 70s. And they do a great job of like, hey, this, not only is our content going to take you back in time, but like this feed is purely going to like make you feel like you're living in the 70s. These skits are going to make you feel like you're watching a sitcom in the 70s. Yeah. And so they do a great job of this. And the biggest thing to take away from this is you can make people experience the experiences that they want to have in their life through your content. Yeah. If somebody wants to experience what life was in the 80s when it was XYZ, and your brand is the brand that can communicate that at scale, content is the bridge, right? It's the way that you're actually going to be able to do that. And these brands, they do a phenomenal job of it, but it starts with, again, understanding what the 5 elements of a mood board are, then understanding that mood board and how the content you create is then how you're going to be able to communicate that at scale. That last part is, and I think is key, is you do have to take your ideal customer's day, break it down into chunks from morning till night, and look at, okay, where does my product integrate? And if it does integrate, how do I make it where it feels incomplete to not have that within that mood board.
When you were saying that, what jumped out is, yes, you are giving them the experience through a shared sort of content piece, right? They see your content and they get to kind of secondhand experience what they want. But at the same time, what you're also doing is tapping into people's deepest desires. You know, you've probably dreamed of going to the Ritz Paris. That's been like something you've always probably wanted, right? Same with On Airlines vacation. There's this longing for a world that doesn't exist anymore. And same with Hogwarts from the original 03 space example, people wanting to go to Hogwarts. Like, you're tapping into something that you created, which people knew they wanted, but they had never been able to articulate on their own. So people like have a lot of things that they experience, see, think about. Like, you're pulling from those desires and you're creating them through content. And yes, it's a way to experience it with them, but that's also how you drive foot traffic, because if you build it, they'll come. You know, if you are creating enough eyeballs on the opulence of the Ritz Paris, like, doesn't take much, bro. You like, just one of those people that can afford it is going to go pull up.
Yeah.
Right. And I think vacation is a great example of, I mean, they just made Baywatch as a sunscreen, you know, and it's like, all right, that's hitting so many different audiences. Like, and they've done a really good job at their sense too in the product design, but yeah, you're creating what people want to exist through content. And if you do that instead of selling, it's this weird back end, you know, you don't actually think it will work, but it'll work much better than just talking about the features and benefits. You know, it's like, if you can create this entire experience through content, then they'll want to try all your stuff. People are always going to try Pinks over some no social type of window cleaner because they have the expectation that this is actually a group that I want to come clean my windows, right? Versus I just searched on Google, I'm a little apprehensive about it. So it's just the biggest differentiator you can have is being able to be in people's head, you know, marketing touch points, all the stuff we talked about.
Be in their head and know their desires, and then know how to
say their desires for them.
Exactly.
That people are not good at articulating. Look at our create versus consume dynamic in the entire society.
Yeah.
Most people are just consuming all the time. But when they're consuming, they are retaining some of that information, right? So your job is to create based on what they're consuming and really what they've consumed over their whole life, you know? You know, we've seen a wave of 80s nostalgia, and Gen Z's a little bit into like the 2000s core as well. So it's like we're getting close to even who was the brand earlier? Buck Mason. Like, Buck Mason is almost like, I mean, dude, early 2011 or early 2010s, you know, that's almost retro now, 15 years ago. You know, like Breaking Bad on TV, the Black Keys topping the charts, like all sorts of, you know, people are wearing boots, mustaches curled out type shit, flannels. So, I mean, even that is like you're tapping into a nostalgia, and like you could make fun of that. That's recent enough where there's something to be said. So
this whole next week, I'm a mood board the shit out of my feed.
Out of your feed?
Yeah.
It's about to get mad aesthetic in there, huh?
I mean,
Charles and I are staying at the Grand Minerva. You should pull up.
What is that?
We got the hotel in downtown Florence, bro. If you have any Florence recs, so leave them in the comments.
Yeah,
if you got Florence recs, please let us know.
For context, getting married in Florence, Charles is going to be there, Brian's going to be there, or getting married in whatever, Bucine. Is it Bucine?
Buccine?
Buccine.
I think it's Buccine.
Buccini.
Yeah.
Getting married there.
That
was probably good.
That. Yeah.
Hit us with any and all recs. Yeah, I'm gonna even make a few pieces of content out there.
Have to.
Just because, yeah, I want to hit some shit. All right, that's a wrap on the episode.